Let's make the basic top together. So all you need for this in pattern drafting, for this basic top, you need your straight ruler, your pencil, your curve ruler, your eraser, a pattern paper. This is a pattern paper, and just 1 yard of silk fabric or any fabric you have. So let's go into the pattern drafting. So you just mark 2 inches on your pattern paper. You could either use your brown pattern paper or your white pattern paper like this. The measurement needed to draft this basic top: you need your bust circumference, which is 39. You need your waist circumference, which is 33. Your hip circumference, which is 42. Your shoulder, which is 16. Half length, which is 17. So for your bust, you divide your bust by 4. 39 divided by 4 is 9.6. Your waist is 33 divided by 4. 33 divided by 4 is 8.2. Your hip is 42. 42 divided by 4, 10.5. Your shoulder, you divide your shoulder by 2, which is 8 inches. So the next is to get your chest line. To get your chest line, you divide your shoulder by 2. Your shoulder divided by 2 is 16 divided by 2 is 8 inches. Since it's an armless outfit, we are going to minus 1 from 8. So 8 minus 1, which is 7. So you mark your 7 inches for your chest line on the 3 corners of your pattern paper, just like this. After drafting that, you take your straight ruler and rule across it a straight line. You make sure it aligns properly. So the next is to get your half length. So your half length from the 2 inches above your pattern paper, you place your tape ready and you mark your half length. The half length for this basic top is 17 inches. So you do the same thing. You mark it at the edge of the paper, come to the middle paper, you mark your 17 inches. From the edge of the paper where you mark your 2 inches, you come down 17 inches. Then you take your straight ruler to connect. Make sure they align very well, just like we're doing here. So now, this measurement is to get your top length. So from your waistline, you measure 9 inches below your waistline. Don't forget, 9 inches below the 17 inches you came down by. So you mark it at the edge of your paper, your middle paper, and the edge of the paper. You mark your 9 inches. Then you grab your straight ruler, like I said, and make sure it's aligned and rule a straight line on it, just like this. What you do next is you label your lines. So the first line is your top line. The second line is your chest line. Then the third line is your waistline, which you came down 17 inches. Then after the waistline, you have your hip line. That's from your waist below, you measure 9 inches. Next, it's time to impute your measurement. So from the top line, you impute your shoulder measurement, which is 16 divided by 2 is 8 inches. The chest line, you also impute your shoulder measurement on your chest line, which is 8 inches. Then you grab your straight ruler and draw a straight line. Make sure they all align and you connect them beautifully. Next is to mark your neck. So we're using a neckline of 2.5 inches. For a chubby person, you use 3 inches. So from the top line, we mark our 2.5 rather. Then we come down 1 inches. Then on that part which we mark out 2.5, we also come down 1 inch again and would align them. So this is us marking the 1 inch. Then you take your straight ruler, connect. Then you connect your neckline. So this is what you're meant to have after connecting. Next is our shoulder slant. On our shoulder line, we come down 1 inches. Then we take our straight ruler and connect it to the neckline, just like this. So after marking out, you're coming down by 1 inch and aligning it to your neckline. You come down 1 inches from your shoulder line and draw a straight line to connect, just like this. Don't forget, you come down 1 inches from your chest line, connect it to your armhole line. So the next is to get your armhole curve. To get your armhole curve, you put your tape rule on your shoulder line to your 1 inch you came down your chest line. Divide your answer by 2. So what I have there is 7 inches. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. Then you go in half inch from that 3.5 rather. Then you take a straight ruler, connect it. See it with a straight ruler. After connecting with a straight ruler, then you slant your ruler like that. From your shoulder line, you connect it beautifully, just like you're saying. The next is to impute our bust measurement. To impute our bust measurement, we divide our bust circumference by 4. So 39 divided by 4 is 9.6 or 9.7 rather. We impute a 9.7 there to get your armhole curve. Connect it beautifully, just like this. So make sure they align. Can you see? You connect. So this is what you're going to have. No sharp edge. Next is to impute waist measurement. To impute our waist measurement, you're going to divide your waist. I have waist 33. Waist 33 divided by 4 is 8.2. So you mark out your 8.2, just like this. The next is to impute your hip measurement. Next is to impute our hip measurement after imputing our waist measurement. So our hip is 42. 42 divided by 4 is 10.5. After marking our lines, we take our straight ruler to connect. From our bust line, we place it to our waistline. After connecting it, you align it with your straight ruler, just like this. Now for the hip line, you take your hip curve ruler and you align it just like this. Note, not too curvy. So this is what you're meant to have. See? It's taking form. So now this is the top we are working with. If you notice, this top has a turtle neckline and some gathers around the shoulder. So what we are doing next is to get this turtle neck. So watch closely. Now to get our turtle neckline, from our neckline, we'll come up 1 inches. Like this. Then on the edge of the paper, you also come up 1 inches and mark. Then you take your straight ruler to connect. Note, we are achieving that turtle neckline I showed you. on that video. Place your ruler. Instead of us connecting to get our exact number, we place your ruler. Don't forget our neckline is 2.5. You mark out the 2.5. Then take your straight ruler to connect. Note, we are achieving the total neckline for the design. So after connecting, the next shoulder slant, we go in 0.2. On your tape rule, 0.2. My tape rule, this is 1 inch. I'm coming in 0.2, so that's my 0.2 there. After coming in 0.2, we'll connect with our straight ruler to have like this V slanted shape. After doing that, what we do next is to get the midpoint. So from the 0.2 we came in by, we'll get our midpoint. What we have is 2.2. 2.2 divided by 2 is 1.1. So from that 1.1, we'll come in midpoint. You come down 0.2. Then you take your curve ruler and connect them at once. So this is what you're meant to have for your total neckline. After curving that, what you do is you take your curve ruler to avoid that sharp edge. We'll just, based on the design, would blend it like this. Make sure you place your curve ruler very well. Blend it to avoid sharp or funny neckline. So don't forget, you're trying to achieve that exact neckline. This is what you're meant to have after drafting. So what we'll do next is to trace out on fold. So to trace out on fold, you get your pattern paper, you fold it into two like this, then you place it underneath your pattern. So we are going to trace out for this design. After pinning our pattern underneath it, we'll add our allowance. So we'll add a total of 1 inch allowance. So I'm using my ruler to mark that out to get my 1 inch. So we're marking the 1 inch allowance all through the pattern before we trace out. So don't forget to add your allowance. So for the shoulder, we'll add 1/2 inch allowance. I'm just using the guide on my ruler to achieve that. Then align it well. If you cannot use a ruler to do that, just use your tape rule and your pencil. Tape rule to mark out the allowance, 1/2 inch allowance, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Note, we are following that curvy line we gave. That is our original neckline. So you connect. In order not to confuse you, you would clean that straight line. So you know. So that is what you're supposed to have for your neckline. So this is what you're meant to have for this. So next is to trace out. Before tracing out, don't forget to add your 0.5 or 1/2 inch allowance for your armhole curve. Note, neckline and armhole, the allowance is 0.5. I said if you don't have ruler, you can also use your tape rule to align it like this. Did you see? So whatever you have available can also work. So this is what you're doing. We are marking out the allowance for this design. Just like that. And you blend in properly. So this is what you have after marking out your allowance. So the next process, like I said, is to trace out your design. Since it's ready to wear, you can also add 0.5 inch allowance if you like. So when you follow this procedure, you're going to get your exact design. So this is what you should have after tracing out. If you notice, it says slash and spread on the shoulder side, so we're going to achieve that. In the meantime, we are blending in our neckline. What we just did is to blend out our neckline, then we'll clean the parts that's not properly laid for our total neckline. So, did you see? You notice the slash and spread on the shoulder line has a C shape. So now, this is what we are going to do. So follow closely. You mark a straight line from your armhole. So next is to do our marking out for our slash and spread on the shoulder line. So we are giving a spacing of 1 inch each for the shoulder. You come down 1 inch rather, and you mark out your 1 inch all through the shoulder. So in essence, I just did how many 1 inch? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when you check the picture, there's more volume on the neck part. So we add 1/2 inch. We divide the 1 inch into 2 and mark it out to achieve that volume. So next is the slash and spread. So we are trying to draw a line so we can do the slash and spread. So on the shoulder line, the first line would draw a curvy shape since it's a slant shape. On the second line, if you notice, it's just little, it's not going in depth. So just follow what we are doing, follow our markings. Note, the volume of which you slash it or mark out your slash and spread line depending on your client's shoulder and depending on the image you're working with. So get our third line and get the lines for it. Just watch closely, you'll understand better. So we need a bit of volume around that shoulder area. So if you notice based on the picture, the other ones close to the armhole side, they are not much, so we just need less volume for it. So this is what you're meant to have. So our next phase is to slash in between the lines to get our volume. So now this is what we're having. If you notice this picture, you'll note that it came down like 2 inches below the hip line. So we're going to do exactly that. So what we're going to do is mark our 2 inches. My ruler is obviously 2 inches, so I'll just mark a straight line all through. Then I'll add an extra 1 inch below it for allowance. So I'm just adding my allowance all through without having to like come back to mark out my allowance. So that's my 1 inch for my allowance. So now for the waistline, the original on top length is meant to be 3 inches below your waistline. 3 inches. So now we're going to fold with 0.5. So 3 plus 0.5 is 3.5. So we'll do the same thing on the other end. So we have 3 inches for the top length plus half inches, that is 3.5. Now you find the midpoint of your top. So now that's our midpoint. We'll go in 3.5. 3.5. After going in 3.5, we're going to take our curve ruler to connect the line to achieve that silhouette on the picture. I'll place our curve ruler on a 3.5 inch below their waistline and connect it to that extension side, also 3.5. Note, it's meant to be 3 inch. Our folding allowance is half inch, so that's why we have 3.5. So you have that. So next, I use a stretch ruler to blend beautifully. Now, can you see how the top is transforming? Can you see that? So next is our slash and spread. Can you see the silhouette for the top? So next, you get a plain paper, you place it underneath your pattern paper. So this is what we have here. We place the paper underneath it, then we start our slashing. So we are going to slash our pattern paper. Watch carefully. So that's the first line. We insert the scissors in between it. Next is the second line. Note, you're not cutting out the pattern from the paper. You just have to slash and spread first. So in case there's any blending that can be done, you don't have to add an additional pattern to do your blending. So we've done the second line. Next is the third line. Next is the fourth line. Next is the fifth line. We have the sixth line. And the final line. Next thing is to open up our slashing so we can add more volume or probably fabric. You could do this on your fabric directly, but for us, we love doing it on our pattern. So if there's any adjustment that needs to be done, it will be done on the pattern without ruining the fabric. So you open up the allowance you want. So for this, we're opening it up by some place we're going to do 1 inch, some place 0.5. Note, when you're doing slash and spread, your opening should not be equal to avoid too much volume. So next, after we're going to open it up. So this is what we have for the opening. Then we'll use a paper tape or a masking tape to gum it down to maintain the opening we want. So whatever opening you want, whatever volume or fullness you want for your slash and spread, that is what you're going to achieve. For us, this is okay, and this is what we are doing for it. Note, we don't want too much volume to avoid it being bulky around the chest region, because if you notice the style, it's not bulky. Note, if there's any puffy side, you can remove your paper and stretch it out to relax properly. Stretch it out. So we're trying to remove the bulkiness it's folding. So that is what you should have. Next is to blend in. So use your straight ruler to connect to blend your shoulder. So then you take your curve ruler and blend in. Voila, and that is what you should have. Easy peasy. Gum it down on the paper underneath it to avoid lifting up. Okay, so next is to cut out our pattern out. So we're cutting out the armhole. So you cut out the armhole, then you follow the line on your shoulder slant. You're cutting into the paper underneath it. Don't forget, you cut it out. Then next is to cut out your neckline. Okay, remember to blend it. Don't forget, you blend it if you don't any sharp edges. You cut the second shoulder slant. So you're cutting it out. No, you added allowance to this pattern paper. Like I said, I added 1 inch, but you can add 0.5 or 2 or 1.5. At most 2 inch. So for this design, it's having zip at the back. So for one reason we didn't add like an ease allowance to it. But if you see what an ease allowance to it, you can add your ease allowance. So after we're done cutting the front, we are going to cut the back for this design, how the back is going to be. But then you can create any back design you want. But for this design, it's a covered back. Just watch out, don't let me confuse you. So this is what you should have for your top. Easy peasy. So now we are working on the back of the top line. So next, what you do is you mark 2 inches, or you take your straight ruler and mark 2 inches from the edge of your paper. just like this. So this is what you should have after marking it. So what you do next is take your main pattern we traced the front from. We'll take the main pattern we trace the front from. And get a zipper allowance. That is why we mark that 2 inches for the back. So what you just do is take your pattern paper and pin. Make sure the pattern is on that 2-inch line, leaving the excesses away from it. So next is we are marking out our back length for the top. From the waistline, we're going to extend our line to our allowance for zipper line. So after doing that, you take your straight ruler and you measure 3 inches. Come out and also measure 3 inches. Now that is your top length. Then you take your straight ruler to connect it for the back. So you should have that. So next is to add our allowance. Our allowance is 0.5. So you mark out your 0.5 and align it for the back. So after doing this, we are left to trace out. Before tracing out, I forgot, you're supposed to adjust your armhole for the back. Note, the front armhole and the back armhole are not the same thing. So what you're going to do is from that midpoint, you go in 0.2 inch. Then you take your straight ruler from the tip of your original armhole, not the allowance, you connect it to the straight ruler. So you're trying to get the back armhole. So after that, you take your curve ruler and connect it just like that for the back. So this is what you should have for your back armhole. Then next is to mark out our allowance. If you notice, I'm using blue color pencil for you to understand and not to make mistake. Now from there, you add your 0.5 inch allowance or half-inch allowance. That's for your blue pen, so it's a separate armhole. The reason why we're doing this is for it to cover your back beautifully, not your armhole eating inside into your back arm. After marking it out, we use our curve ruler to blend it just like that into the armhole. So the blue line now is our back armhole line. So next is to trace out. So we are tracing out our allowance side for our back. You don't have the allowance all through the pattern, so we're tracing it, tracing the pattern. So trace out the neckline, the shoulder slope from the neckline, then you trace out the shoulder line. So you have this, then next is trace out the armhole. We are tracing out the allowance side, so the blue line is for our back armhole. Make sure you put the line when tracing out, so that's what you have. So next is take out the pattern paper. So you should have this. If you notice, you can't see the line, but if I bring it closer, you could see the trace out line on the pattern paper. So next, we're going to mark it out with our ruler, curve ruler, and pencil. This is what you should have after marking out your trace out line. So now we want to apply our zipper budge. What we'll do is from your waistline, go down to 0.5, come up 0.5, and from your waistline, you go in 0.5. Now you take your straight ruler and connect the line you went in by to your neckline and blend it just like this. Just follow what I'm doing. So you should have this. Then you take it and blend it back to the line. Yes, just like that. So take the pencil out. This is what you should be having. So the next is to take your straight line from the 0.5 went up by, we connect it out to the ending of the paper. Now the same thing, when we came down in, we connect it to the end of the paper. So this is what you should have. So next, now we are closing in our zipper bulge to avoid those excess folding or gaping at the back. So fold it in. Make sure you follow the line just like you're seeing. You blend it in. Now you take your paper tape and we'll tape it down. So by doing this, you're avoiding what you do to avoid the zipper bulge. Next is to add our allowance. Add your allowance. So now for the zipper allowance, we're adding 1 inch from the from your top length for the back. So my ruler has 1 inch, so I'm using my ruler as guide. So you can mark out your 1 inch and connect it. Note, I understand that you're very professional using your hands to get 1 inch, but it's best you either use your ruler and mark it out or you use your tape rule to get a well-defined line. Take it out. So this is what we have for our allowance. So next is to blend our neckline for the back. So this is what you take your curve ruler and blend it in to avoid sharp edges. You clean all the excesses. Clean all the excesses. Then you take your straight ruler to connect. Note, we've added our allowance. So what we do is mark the back. So you label it back. Learn to label. So this is what we have for our back design. Then we'll cut out. Take your paper scissors, then you cut out following the lines. So we're cutting from the length of your top or your top length. Then we'll take it up from the paper side or your top length to the waist, following the lines. So we're cutting out our zipper part. Don't forget, allowance for zipper is 0.1 inch rather, but if you think I want it half inch, you do that. If I want it 1.5, you do that. So we'll cut out the neckline, the shoulder slant, the armhole, rollers. This is what you should have for your back. This is what you should have after your whole pattern. So watch out for the next video. What you're doing is we are cutting the fabric and we are sewing for this lovely basic top. Thank you for watching. See you in our cutting and sewing video for the fabric.